Hey everybody, this is Dr. Chase Hayden along with Dr. Aaron Chapa. Today we're going to answer your questions on how to get more energy. So stick around, we've got a lot of great things where we discuss how you can get 13 hours out of your 10-hour day. We'll see you in a bit. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around. We're glad that you want to find out how you can get more energy in your day. Dr. Aaron Chapa and myself frequently get asked how we can get more energy, how we can produce more, how we can be more active, how we can just spend the quality time that we want with our family, with our kids, with our jobs. Basically more energy, and who doesn't want that? So today I'm going to ask Dr. Aaron a couple of questions. We're going to try and get to the bottom of what he does in his practice to be able to help his patients to thrive in the energy department, to be able to accomplish their goals throughout the day in and day out, so that they never feel like they're having to drag throughout the day and have to take naps and, basically tell their family and friends no when they could be saying yes when it comes to energy production.
That's right.
So thanks for sticking around, and let's kick it off with Dr. Aaron Chapa. So the first thing I would want to ask you, Aaron, and I know I get this question a lot, is what is the number one thing that I could do starting today in my life without going to a doctor or anything to just try and get more energy in my life?
So, excellent question. It's actually more simple than you may realize. It's water. I have a book that I always reference in the back of my office, and it's called The Body's Many Cries for Water. And this doctor up in New York went around, and it's 437 pages on story after story after story of rehydration and how people are just walking around dehydrated. And it's because, number one, they're not putting enough water in their body. Number two, the fluids that they are putting in their body wind up dehydrating their body and robbing them of nutrition, of minerals, the fuel that drives the electrical capacity of every cell in the body.
So the first thing you're saying, step one, more water.
More water.
But let's say, for example, I wake up and I drink, a cup of coffee, or I go to, my favorite coffee joint or something and have some of that. Does that affect the water intake that I have to do the rest of the day? Because you said that, we drink stuff all day and it may not be as good for us as we want.
So, I've been in practice almost 10 years, and I want patients to not drink coffee. I would like them to be off of sodas. But understanding that people are going to be people, and they're creatures of habit. They're going to be doing their patterns to do what they've always done, because I've learned that people never do what they want to do, they only do what they know how to do.
Okay.
And so they learn how to basically just get through their day. And I like what you said earlier about not going through your day telling your friends no, or your family no, or not having enough energy for your kids at night because you don't have the energy to play and to be an active social member of society. We have a healthy balance of work and play. Okay. And when you consume, say, coffee has the ability to dehydrate the body very rapidly of minerals. Not necessarily that does it make you like a diuretic, it's going to make you pee a lot. Mm-hmm. It dehydrates, or what I'd say, it preoccupies the minerals in the body so that the minerals are being used to do something else than to give you energy. Okay, so then it does offset how much water you have to drink.
Okay, so you're saying the first thing is if we're drinking coffee or something like that, it may displace mineral usage or mineral utilization in the body, which in turn means we have to drink even more water?
We have to drink even more water that we're already not drinking enough in the first place.
Does the same thing apply with things like tea or alcohol or sodas or things like that as well, or is that just an isolated event with coffee?
No, it is more concentrated with coffee because it's primarily caffeine, but it is also sodas. It's also juice. It's also alcohol. And so we have to be mindful of, hey, I'm putting these other substances in my body. I need to make sure that I am putting in enough water to get through my day to counteract those other substances.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you're saying step one, no questions asked. If someone was fatigued and tired and walked into your office and said, Dr. Chapa, help, you're going to say, start by drinking more water.
I'm going to first ask them, hey, how much water do you drink in the day? And they're going to also look at me with the deer in the headlights. And you can always tell because they look like a desert wasteland. Their skin is dry. Their hair is coarse and brittle. Their fingernails are ridgy. I mean, you start seeing that the body is crying out. And patients just don't know that your body has check engine lights every day that you could be addressing if you just knew to look for them. And so my job, part of it, is to show them where their body's breaking down, help them see that if they put more water in, that's one critical piece of giving them more energy, mental clarity, and drive for the day.
Wait a second. I'm coming to you for fatigue and energy, and immediately you just pointed out skin issues, hair issues, on top of the energy issues, plus my nails might not be as good as they should be, or
Hair falling out.
hair falling out. You're
Or
saying there's
I
other
forget
symptoms?
names, numbers, and words. I mean, so easy. I walk into a room, can't remember I walked in there. And that's the cool thing about health, right? Is it's never one thing. I can't
Okay.
just say water's going to fix your energy, because water, when we're born, we're almost 70-75% water. And when we die or we get really sick, we're like in the low 60s, upper 50s. When we get closer to death, we're even lower. And so if we could get people 57, 60, even 65% water day in and day out, we know that those cells are communicating really well, really fast. That means when your brain throws out a command, your cells pick it up in the body down in your legs. And then when the legs trigger off a response back up, the brain says, oh, yeah, I got that. And it's a quick volley back and forth.
So in that case, if I know I need to increase my water today, what's the general rule that I would look for how much water consumption should I get?
Great question.
You know, I'm 5'9", 185 pounds. What should I eat? Or
So-
how much water should I drink?
So 1 liter, that's 32 ounces per 50 pounds of body weight. And so depending on your weight, because obviously we can't generalize. We can't just say 8 cups of water a day because, well, number one, how big's your cup? Mm-hmm. Number two, you can't just generalize and say what is right for one person is going to be right for a kid that's 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. Because you can waterlog them,
Right.
and they get belly aches. That's kind of how you know. You have to use your good sense and judgment when you're consuming this stuff. But 1 liter per 50 pounds is a good rule of thumb just across the board. Now, if you throw in exercise on top of that, you got to drop in another 16 to 32 ounces of water.
Because I'll be sweating it off or urinating more frequently or something you're saying.
That's right.
Okay.
Which, when you dehydrate, your body becomes more toxically concentrated. So we have to address those issues. So we have to look at ways to make sure that your water intake meets your daily physical output. If the volume of water in your body goes down, your toxic concentration
goes up, of course.
up.
So that reminds me of like in 5th grade when you learn these little phrases about reducing, recycling, reusing, or whatever, and they say the solution to pollution is dilution.
Yeah.
It would sound like to me that if your toxic burden inside of you is getting too high, you just need to dilute it down by adding more water. And that allows us to work better with our kidneys and our livers and our skin and our hair and our brain.
Nailed it.
So we're dehydrated, so our toxic burdens are up. We become more sluggish, more dysfunctional, more symptomatic.
Because we're more concentrated toxic levels. Okay. We're running with more concentrated toxic levels.
That's pretty crazy. So, if I'm summarizing everything we've talked about so far, you're saying patient walks in, they want more energy.
Yeah.
Step one, we want to increase more water. By increasing our water, we dilute the toxic burdens in our body, which allows our body the potential for doing more with what it currently has.
Correct.
The general rule that you would start with and then modify accordingly would be about 1 liter of water per 50 pounds of body weight.
Nailed it.
As a 185 pound guy, I'm doing 3.5 to 4 liters of water a day is what you would recommend.
Correct.
What else might you recommend to somebody? Because that's a great first step, and now I know I can go start drinking water and carrying it around with me all the time. Is there anything else that I could do personally to try and get more energy, less fatigue, be able to accomplish more in my day? I'd say let's start with the person that doesn't know where to start. Because like you said before, patients come into our offices all the time. They want to know what they can do to increase their energy to be able to accomplish more.
Right.
Well, we of course want them to be able to produce the energy on their own, not have to medicate them with caffeine, like just saying, here, drink more coffee all day to get those adrenals going and pumping to where they can do their stuff. We want them to be able to create the hormones, create the activity on their own, using their own internal pharmacy.
Absolutely.
And so if they can do that, we now know that the electrical activity within our brain and our body and our cells relies heavily on water. And we need to get more water in, but is there something else that I could do to help that process along besides just drinking more water? Or do I need to just go schedule an appointment with you? Or some other doctor that does something like what you do?
Yeah, no, I get it. No, the reality is there are a lot of things that you can do to get well, to have more energy. And the next thing I would say is start looking at what's your blood sugar doing. Like if you miss a meal, do you get shaky? Do you get irritable? Are you a bear with hairy teeth? I mean, what kind of person are you? Because there's all these people walk around. And so we're going to be looking at blood sugar and how to regulate your blood sugar. So does that mean that you need to be on what I call the peaks and valleys diet, where you're a good sugar burner, where you're leveraging insulin week after week and month after month and year after year to the point where now you're insulin resistant? Or can we teach your body to leverage 5 hormones that drive stability into the body using what most Americans, frankly, are afraid of, fat? You know, a new question now pops up. Does fat make you fat? Or can fat be the missing link in driving more energy into the body?
Yeah, but fat's bad for us.
That's right, obviously, right? If you eat too much fat, right?
Obviously, it's bad for us.
If you eat too much fat, you get fat, right? That is so, it's a medical myth, you know, and what it was is they just figured out that they could measure triglycerides and cholesterol in the body, and somehow or another now fat's bad. But we forget, cholesterol has an OL on the back of it. That's not a fat, that's an alcohol. Right? And cholesterol levels have to be balanced, and they are building blocks using fats as a critical piece. And so we need healthy fats in the body. And without healthy fats, the phospholipid layer around every cell in your body doesn't get a chance to regenerate. So now you're running around with bad materials, bowed wood, screws that don't screw all that well, and tools that don't regenerate the process material wise. And so now have dysfunctional cells again, not because of dehydration or high levels of toxicity, but because the tissues can't regenerate fast enough. And so now we're in a state of what we call accelerated aging. So one of the things that I would say is, for the coffee drinker out there, consume more water. The second thing that you can do is you can add fat to your coffee. Not dairy, not cream, not sugar, but you could put a tablespoon of butter, organic Kerrygold butter or ghee or MCT oil. You could add fat to your day and stabilize your blood sugar. And now you're forcing your body to not leverage insulin anymore. You're forcing your body to leverage hormones that build the furnace. And now you have a hot furnace of, coal power in the engine. And that train will just choo right down the tracks. And by the end of the day, you've got more energy than you know what to do with, not crashing at the end of your workday.
So you're essentially saying that this whole energy production process is a whole lot more than just stimulants and triggering effects with external influences like coffee or
24-hour energy drinks
or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe even just these
sodas.
Stimulants like sodas and sugars and stuff. But you're saying if we have an energy problem, we might really be having a cellular imbalance or a cellular integrity problem.
Right.
And your first solution was, of course, to add more water.
Right.
Because as we add more water into our diet, our cells have the bit greater capacity to perform their electrical activity, which means they'll make more energy, they'll be more adaptive and more responsive whenever they're called upon for work.
Absolutely.
The second thing you're saying is if the cell integrity is not working well, like that phospholipid membrane you're talking about,
Yep.
that outline shell of the cell, that we could strengthen that up by having good fats into our life, like medium chain triglycerides or MCT oil as you call them,
Yeah.
or
Coconut
real
oil.
organic butters and
Yeah.
grass-fed butters and grass-fed meats or grass-fed fats, I guess is a
From
good-
the meats,
from
right.
the meats, and
Like
then
lard.
right, something like that.
I know it's scary for some folks to think that doctors are sitting around talking about eating more pig fat, but yeah.
Right. So having more fat like butter,
Avocado,
lard, avocados,
coconut oil,
MCT
olive
oil, MCT oil, stuff like that, now gives our cellular membranes a greater protective barrier to keep stuff where it belongs.
Absolutely.
Having it respond appropriately and compounding that with the water, you're saying
You're building.
when
Let me make it simple. If you had a bowl of pruny grapes and a bowl of lush, plump, full grapes, which ones do you want?
depends on if I have to go to the restroom or not, right? No, I was joking. So yes, of course, we want the nice, full,
When you put the
pleasant-looking
healthy
ones.
fats in and you hydrate well, you're building healthy, plump, integrous cells. And when you have healthy cells in your body won't shift into an accelerated aging state. It will shift into a regenerative state where your day's output will be regenerated during the night when you're sleeping well, having good growth hormone release.
So I want to get back a little bit to that whole concept. You just said that we shouldn't drink coffee, but if we are drinking coffee, we could probably make it better for us by adding stuff to it.
That's right.
Now, in a real world situation, we wouldn't need to rely on coffee. We wouldn't do it. But you said earlier, we're creatures of habit. We just do what we do. And as we're working toward improvement, there are things we can make a little bit better.
That's
so
right.
You mentioned adding like MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides,
A tablespoon.
or butter into your coffee.
Right.
Does that mean I can go out and do everything else like normal, still eat, the pizzas and the breads and the
Well, still remember, we
fruits and the
open
whatevers?
we open that conversation up with its blood sugar regulation. So we're taking one piece of the of what we're talking about that you're doing every day probably, and you're making it a little bit better.
Okay.
But really, you do have to watch the fact, are we going to be good insulin sugar burners to the point where we become insulin resistant, and then we get to ourselves in a predicament where we're we're in a fast accelerated aging state where mental clarity is declining, we're not making it through our day? Or are we going to start looking at other factors too? So this is that blood sugar piece. You have to start looking at the amount of carbohydrates you're putting in your body, the amount of fat that you're putting in your body. You have to look at the way you eat, and it's not so much you are what you eat, you become what you eat. So if you want to become a sugar-filled lump of dough, eat one. You know what I mean? And if you want to look like a potato, eat potatoes. So you got to look at and recognize what has a strong spike on our blood sugar. So starchy vegetables even can be a potential problem if you overindulge. But most people are, like you said, eat pizza. They have lots of sodas. They have lots of pasta, a bread with every meal. They have oatmeals or different types of starches, pastries for breakfast. Always got to have that dessert after dinner, right? These are the common things that we see in practice, and I know that you do too. And blood sugar is another huge piece to your energy curve.
Okay, so if we're going to make a quick little bullet point attack plan for how to get more energy in my life right now, or in my life, anybody's life.
Right.
What we're saying so far is first and foremost,
Water.
We need more water. By having more water, we create better fluid activity within the cell. We detoxify more efficiently.
Yep.
And after that, our next major step would be to start trying to balance out blood sugar regulation in our diet.
Yes.
So eating fewer refined carbs, fewer processed carbs, and at the same time, while we're eating fewer carbs that might be harmful to our body's regulation of sugars, we want to be increasing our fat with some good quality fats.
Absolutely.
Like the coconut oils, the lards, the grass-fed butters, things like that.
Sure.
So that's two
Huge.
kind of huge steps there. More water and those reasons, followed by blood sugar balance
Absolutely.
and those reasons, so more fat and things like that. Is there a third thing that you would tell the masses to do, or at that point does it become more individualized for what someone needs to do?
It could be as simple as going for a walk. Now, if you're doing those first two things, you should notice your energy levels are definitely going up. Okay, and when they start going up, your output should have excess. Meaning, when you get home, you're not looking for the bed or the couch or your favorite TV show. You're looking for, hey, I got some extra energy. I can go jump on the trampoline, do some rebounding. Or I could, which is an exercise protocol that's real famous for lymphatic drainage. You could go for a walk around the block, and interact with your family in that respect. Or if you're a runner, you could learn how to run right. Or if you're a kettlebell swinger, you can learn how to swing some kettlebells and do some things that increase your heart rate. And now we're teaching the body how to burn body fat more effectively, in addition to biochemically in teaching our body how to burn fat more effectively.
So if I wanted to really increase my energy production today, the three main things you're talking about are increase hydration, increase water substantially, balance my blood sugar better, so eat fewer sugars, have better quality fats in my life, and not be scared of fats like
Absolutely.
sometimes we may have been brainwashed to do in the past.
Medical myths. Fat is not bad. Fat is your friend.
Okay. And then you're saying the third thing, of course, is just more physical activity. Rather than feeling like I'm tired, it might be that that's the best time to go out and do something to get the heart rate going, get the oxygen moving, and that will wake me up and get me more energy. And
Not only wake you up, it also stimulates your nervous system. So now your nervous system is all about stimulation and nutrition. It needs nutrients and it needs to be stimulated. So when you're active, you're stimulating that nervous system to engage more effectively, and you're more or less getting the cobwebs out of the carburetor.
that's awesome. Those are some great tips, 3 great, wonderful tips on how we can start getting energy today without even having to go to the doctor. I mean,
That's
those are
right.
safe.
Can't hurt yourself.
You can't hurt yourself by drinking more water, right? I mean, you could, but you'd have to go crazy with drinking water. But if we're doing
I guarantee. Try it and then let me know how it works out, because I've never met that patient. Right?
1 liter of water per 50 pounds of body weight, great place to get started.
Absolutely.
Eating fewer carbs, who doesn't need to eat fewer carbs? Pass on the value meals a few extra times. Lower carbs in our life, that's going to be a better thing. So drinking more water.
Under 100 carbs a day would be a good place to start, by the way.
Okay.
So if you're like counting carbohydrates, not calories, carbs, so you would you'll drop it under 100.
Okay. So now all of a sudden you're bringing in some more.
No,
important stuff here.
we'll talk about that on another video, but
Okay.
because we could literally sit here and talk all day, I'm sure. But we just want to give some tidbits, right?
Okay.
But just as a starting place, we're talking about 1 liter of water per 50 pounds of body weight. Well, this whole reduction of carbs, where do you start? Start with 100.
Okay.
And then get under 100 grams a day of carbohydrates and see how your body feels.
Okay. If we were starting right here today, our 3 action steps would be this: 1 liter of water per 50 pounds of body weight.
That's absolutely right.
Starting right now. Secondarily, lower carb intake. Your recommendations for right now, usually safe with 100 grams or less of carbs,
You could definitely go
Per
less,
day.
but starting place
but starting at 100 grams per day, and eating more fat at the same time.
at the same time.
Because
Gotta
if you
do
had no
both.
carbs, no fat, that'd
You're
be a
going to
bad
chew
day.
your arm off.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. So as we lower the carbs, we dramatically increase the fat using the MCT oil, the butter, the lard, things
avocados,
like that,
yeah, yeah.
avocados. And then our third action step is move more often. So go for walks, go on a trampoline, do a rebounder, do something to get
The blood flow
The blood
moving,
flow
your
going.
nervous system stimulated.
great action steps for increasing
Yeah.
energy. And we know, based off of clinical experience and the many patients we've been able to help, that if you can start by doing these 3 things, it's a great starting point for getting you where you want to be. Thanks for joining us today. This is Dr. Aaron Chapa, and I'm Dr. Chase Hayden, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you.